Well, no, but if I asked you, for example, should biological males be allowed to compete in women's sport? Hang on, what would you say?
This is a crazy question that I'm not here to talk about.
What would you say?
Because it's not something
you can't
I'm an
answer,
expert
can you?
on. I'm not an expert on it.
No.
So
I know.
You also probably don't have
you don't want
the
to
right
say,
answer.
because you know what you would have to say.
Piers Morgan isn't just any journalist. He's a storm that shakes up the status quo, especially when it comes to woke culture. He's been making headlines with his unfiltered takes, fearlessly challenging the rising tide of political correctness. Time and again, he steps into the arena, armed with sharp questions and bold claims that leave his opponents speechless. His fiery debates expose the contradictions in woke ideologies, making you wonder if today's so-called progress is just a new form of control. Is Morgan the last voice of reason in a world drowning in outrage?
Because otherwise women would never win anything.
Look, I think...
So that's why we do it. It's not because women aren't great athletes.
Women would never
They're great
win
athletes
anything.
when competing
What a quote,
against people
Piers.
physically born like
Listen,
them.
I have so much to say. I want to explode.
Go on, then.
Firstly, Esther, you're the only thing making anyone angry or incensed right now, so you're causing me a mental health issue.
Piers Morgan is a name that often pops up in conversations about media and politics, and for good reason, especially when it comes to heated debates on the topic of gender sports. He's a British journalist and political commentator who has built a career on being unapologetically outspoken.
Because you know what you would have to say to fit the criteria of being a wokey. You would have to say you agree with it. And in that moment, everyone watching at home goes, you're a complete lunacy then. You're a wokey by the common definition today.
What sets Morgan apart is his reputation for being controversial. He doesn't shy away from expressing his opinions, even when they're unpopular. It's almost like he thrives on it. He's been known to challenge the status quo, especially when it comes to topics like woke culture, gender identity, and free speech.
Would you allow him, if he said I'm a woman, to play in the American women's national team?
You're using the wrong pronoun
Yes, right now. Hell yeah, are you kidding me?
Wow.
Messi on the U.S. women's national team? Hell yeah.
Would you
because
allow
that would
Usain
mean-
Bolt to do that and be in the sprinting
Yes,
team?
because that would mean they're a trans woman. They identify as women.
I get it.
This fearless approach has made him a polarizing figure. Some people love him for his blunt honesty, while others can't stand him for the same reasons. But whether you agree with him or not, you have to admit that he knows how to get a conversation going.
I don't think she should have been. But she told us that she was. She told us how outraged she was and how offended she was and insulted
Paula, I
she
don't
was.
think even you
and
think
he
that...
was suspended for that.
I don't think even you, as a black woman, can feel comfortable that calling someone woke is as bad as a racial slur. Come on.
Morgan isn't afraid of being canceled or receiving backlash for his views. In many interviews, he's left woke individuals looking utterly speechless with his sharp questioning and straightforward arguments. He doesn't tiptoe around sensitive topics. He tackles them head-on, often making his points in just a few powerful words. It's this fearless attitude that makes him a unique voice in a media landscape where many are hesitant to express their true feelings.
99% of people that I call woke in a derogatory manner deserve it because they're being ridiculous.
So it is a slur, you agree?
Well, I'm just going to say, but that's the point.
I don't think it even comes close to being a slur as like a racial slur.
You're using it as a slur.
Well, I'm not. I'm saying that your views, the woke world's view of life, I find ridiculous, right?
Piers Morgan's stance on woke culture is pretty clear. He's not having it. He's known for standing firm in his beliefs, refusing to conform to the often extreme ideologies that seem to dominate conversations these days. Morgan has made it a point to champion free speech, and he's all about expressing opinions that might ruffle some feathers. It's refreshing to see someone who isn't afraid to push back against the tide of political correctness, especially at a time when many seem scared to say what they think.
Therefore, I'm using it as a term of mockery. Abusing someone about their skin color is a completely different, and in my view, far more serious thing.
So why are you using the word woke? Why don't you stop using the word woke as a pejorative and say that what you are saying is ridiculous, or what you're saying is nonsense?
Because it really annoys the wokies when I call them
wokies.
I don't think we're annoyed, are we, Paula?
Oh, yes.
Morgan has made headlines more than once for his outspoken critiques of woke culture. In a particularly fiery exchange on his show, he confronted a guest who was trying to dodge questions about the inconsistencies in woke beliefs. Watching him dismantle those arguments was like witnessing a verbal boxing match, where he just wouldn't let up until the other person had to confront the flaws in their logic. His ability to challenge these ideas directly and effectively is what makes him such a compelling figure.
I feel really proud of being called woke because it means I'm trying to make the world a better place.
And not only that, but you know what
woke
happens,
people
Piers?
make the world a worse place. They make it a joyless,
ridiculous,
humorless, fascist state where everybody has to look the same, sound the same, say the right things, can't crack any jokes.
That's actually disgusting.
Blah, blah, blah. It is disgusting. I agree. We finally agree, James.
In interviews, he often describes the current iteration of woke culture as something that has become overly authoritarian, almost fascist. He argues that while it started with good intentions, like promoting equality and understanding, it's morphed into something that stifles free speech and critical debate. Morgan believes that the spirit of true liberalism has been lost, replaced by a small, loud group that demands conformity rather than healthy discussion. His insights challenge us to reconsider what it means to be tolerant in a society that increasingly punishes dissent.
It is absolutely ludicrous.
That's absolutely
and to go
not
back
true.
To this
That's
pride,
And by the way,
listen,
how many letters are there now?
No, I let you talk.
Well, yeah, exactly. What is he?
I let you talk.
Sam used to be a he too, right? We can't keep up with any of them. Demi Lovato used to be they,
Demi's
them.
exhausted.
Now
so
she's
funny,
a she again. He's been a he. He wants to be called they, them. He'll be back to being a he again.
It is so funny.
They can't make their minds up what they are.
Piers Morgan's key arguments against woke ideologies shine through when he tackles the gender identity debate. One of his most pointed critiques is the question of whether biological men should be allowed to compete in women's sports. He doesn't beat around the bush with this one. Morgan argues that letting men who identify as women compete against biological females undermines the very foundation of fairness in sports. It's a hot topic, and he believes it sends a message that disregards the hard work and dedication that female athletes put into their training and competition. It raises the question, is this really about equality, or is it more about pushing an agenda? When he discusses this issue,
you can absolutely support trans rights to fairness and equality, as I do and consistently have. But you can also see that there is obviously a massive problem now increasing now in women's sport. And there's a reason, and we've had this conversation, James, but you gave a preposterous answer last time. There's a reason we separate sexes in the Olympics, in the World Championships, because otherwise women would never win anything.
Morgan brings up the potential consequences of allowing biological men to compete in women's categories. It could lead to situations where male athletes, who naturally have different physical advantages, dominate women's events. This isn't just a theoretical argument. It's about the future of women's sports and the opportunities available to female athletes.
That's why we do it. It's not because women aren't great athletes.
Women would never
They're great
win
athletes
anything.
when competing against people physically born like them.
Then there's the whole definition of what it means to be a woman. Morgan emphasizes the importance of biological definitions and critiques the current confusion surrounding gender identity. He argues that when we start bending the rules of language and biology, it can have serious repercussions on how society understands gender. By making the definition of womanhood so fluid, we risk losing sight of the actual biological realities that have existed for centuries. Morgan believes this ambiguity can be harmful, especially for young people trying to navigate their identities in a world where the conversation is constantly changing.
Where's my straight flag?
Why am I constantly getting straight
Where is my straight flag?
Why are straight people holding hands in the street?
When have you ever seen a straight flag?
Why has Mickey Mouse got a
Tell
girlfriend?
me one straight flag hanging right now anywhere in the world.
Why are straight people
Where is the straight flag?
Identity
Where's the straight flag?
The evolution of woke culture is pretty fascinating, and honestly a bit alarming when you think about it, especially when it comes to the whole debate of LGBTQ. Back in the day, being woke meant you were enlightened and fighting for a good cause. It was all about standing up for the marginalized and making the world a better place. But now it's more about crushing ideologies. Like Piers argues, where is the straight flag now? The meaning of being woke morphed into something that feels more extreme and, honestly, authoritarian. Piers Morgan points this out clearly. He argues that the current interpretation of woke culture has taken a sharp turn. Instead of fostering open discussions and real understanding, it often seems like there's a new set of rules everyone is expected to follow.
But I find this ultra-woke mentality so illiberal that it borders on the very fascism they profess to hate most.
So, what are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below.